One sword bearer down, 9 more to go. Now, Muramasa is an interesting figure. He was a swordsmith, the greatest swordsmith in all of the world. Wolverine has known this gentleman before, and he believes that Muramasa prophecy that Polaris said has relation to him. Unbeknownst to him, the Horseman Pestilence also had the Muramasa as one of their side's 10 of swords. So what happens when one sword is named twice? We open with a shot of a fiery pit, and it appears to be hell. Someone is speaking over this imagery saying that hell is where past catches up with you. It's a great place to torture someone because it pays that pain with all the things that you've done. This is all your doing, these pits of pain. One can't escape their past and those past transgressions, and he's here because the past has caught up with Krakoa. We're all due for a reckoning, Wolverine says, but he's talking to Krakoa here. Just him, just Krakoa. He has words for Krakoa. He's got some beef. He says, you're the only one whose voice really matters here. Even if the quiet council with their kings and queens sit around talking it out for hours, at the end of the day, the last word is yours. This place was supposed to be a new start for all of us, but you wanted that gate open, that external gate. So that means you wanted war. You are dragging us back to the past, back into this violence. I'm not one to lose any battle, whether I can see what's coming or not, especially now because this place is worth fighting for. And Wolverine says his piece and says he's going to go find the Muramasa blade. He's going to make somebody bleed and he's going to win, but he don't think he'll ever trust Krakoa. Wolverine begins to go down memory lane, and as a man who's lived for quite a while, he has quite a bit of memories, some good, many bad ones. He recalls his wife that he lost, Itsu, and the son he thought he lost, to Ken, and how those losses changed him a lot and hardened his soul, and he had a lot of rage, focused that rage to steel. He found a swordsmith named Muramasa, the greatest swordsmith the world's ever known. He forged Logan a blade to kill all who had wronged him, and he wielded that blade like an angry god. Like that part of him in that story, that blade is gone, and Muramasa, who made the blade, is also missing. So Wolverine seeks out one person on the island who may have information, and that is the Silver Samurai. And he finds him on a place on the island called the Quarry, which is kind of like a practice area for the sword fighters or whoever wants to fight there. Wolverine watches him sparring with no one. Silver Samurai asks, "Why have you come?" Basically, Logan's like, "You're not surprised that I'm here?" And Samurai says, "No, not by you, that you want to know how to find Muramasa. He already knows." And Logan says, "You don't want to tell me because I guess you're mad that this dimension-shattering sword fight is going down and you didn't get the call, so I'm going to have to earn your help by beating it out of you." Silver Samurai says, "You have no respect for discipline and it should have been me." Logan says, "Hey, maybe it should have, but it's not. There's no reshuffling the deck. You need to give up the information because I've only heard rumors." And we jump over to Arakki and we see a place, a tower called the Tower of Broken Will. And this is the first tower that fell during the Second Great War. We see Pestilence and War riding upon their dragons. War's dragon is a flaming salamander type dragon, which is so cool. As Pestilence and War walk up to this tower and enter, they are speaking about somebody who has been reprimanded here, who is locked up here in the pit. Pestilence asks, "How long has he been here?" And War says, "Not long enough. If it were my choice, he'd remain there until the oceans dried up and the stars burned out. But here we are, humbled." Pestilence says, "Well, he won't be humbled." And War is confident that she can make him be humble and beg for our help, and that the pit was a mercy that was far beyond him, and he will not escape lightly. "This, the slayer of my husband, does not deserve freedom unless the final brings him the death he deserves." There's an information sheet in telling about Solemn. He says he can make mountains fall in love with him, and some said he could whisper down a cloud to rain on him for him to bathe. before he blew it away. The flowers opened where he stepped, and the oceans surrounding Arakki turned up pretty stones and shells and pearls for him, to his delight. Men and women both craved him and wished to tear him apart at the same time. Those cravings he indulged to excess, but any who might try to hurt him, he would hurt back many, many times over. Some called him a devil, but devils deal in evil, and that's not solemn. Agenda of pleasure and gamesmanship. He has loyalty to none but himself. He can be found where there is music and pleasure and flesh and wine and sometimes blood. War also says that they're probably fooling themselves that they're going to find a warrior in this pit. As long as it's been, time will have broken him and starvation would have thinned him and boredom would have feebled him. But she is completely wrong. Somebody from the pit shouts pretty happily, "Ah, old friends." And we see a hooded figure that says, "I assume you've come seeking favor." And he's got a nice little spread. He's got a guitar and wine and cheese and candles and some ham. Got some comic books, it looks like. He's living his best life in chains. He pulls back his hood and you see this person that is not thin, is not looking broken at all. And he's been here for 100 years, he says. He says, "I'm good. I'm not mad. I have one beauty who sings me songs and another who brings me bread. Some bring me books and others wine or gold or pretty things. I don't mind the companionship. It pleases me. So what do you want, War?" War is not happy to see this person living so carefree, and she says, "You were sentenced here to suffer. The Arakki citizens would not allow him to suffer, I'm afraid. You know they love me." That's what this person says. She says, "You killed my husband and robbed me of my love and my child of his father." And he says it's not his fault that he demanded to fight me for his so-called honor. And he says, "Was I supposed to lose to my inferior just to please you?" Sounds ridiculous. "I may be a tender-hearted poet," he says, "but I'm also a killing machine. Do you remember what I told you, War, when you put me in this hole? I said that you would come back here one day and beg for my help. Arakki needs her champion." This time Pestilence steps in and says, "We bring an offering of death. The time of reckoning is upon us and we're at war with Krakoa, and the Witch of Otherworld has drawn her cards, and she has chosen her 10 of swords. She named you Solemn." Solemn seems to be pretty pleased at this, gets herself ready and says, "I must be fighting their greatest warriors." War says, "We don't really know the rules or our opponents, but I hope it's so." She says, "Even though I will accept nothing less than complete victory, I pray for your loss. You still need a sword." Solemn claims he already has a dagger. He pulls out this weapon and says, "War gave it to me a century ago, and I hope it's not rusty. You told me that I offer you this gift so that you might kill yourself in despair with the blade of the man you killed." As he holds it up, he says, "Here it is, and sorry I didn't kill myself with it, but it is a hell blade, and I don't fancy going to hell. That despair that you spoke of, never felt a drop of it." Pestilence says, "No, the cards require a sword, a blade called Muramasa." Solemn says, "What is a Muramasa and where do I find it?" And they claim, "We have no idea." "How long do I have?" he asks. 3 days. And War asks, "Are you going to accept, or are you going to enjoy your lavish vacation here in this pit?" Solemn says, "Oh, I accept. It sounds like a most delicious assignment." And he breaks out of his shackles and leaps out of the pit, telling them, "I'll see you in the arena." The reckoning behind Bracken's death, who was War's husband and Summoner's father, the details were a little sparse. It was rumored that he and Bracken were intimate. When Solemn broke off their arrangement, Bracken was not happy and challenged him for his pride or rage or whatever, and Solemn obliged and killed him. We jump back over to Earth. We are following Logan as he is following the trail of clues to try to find Muramasa, and he's commenting that tracking down people is something that he's good at. It can take weeks to properly do this, but he doesn't have that kind of time. So he broke down doors that needed breaking down, and he walked quietly through the rest. He was there just for information, new and old. And he finds something that references the hand of the demon. Logan says he asked help of both friend and old foes because during a time as this, when your whole world can be destroyed, those old wounds don't seem to matter much anymore. and you see he is met with Mariko, and he apparently gets some information from her. And he travels to this mountainside temple. He says that mutants aren't the only one who are in danger, and that something dark had came from Muramasa. You see him climbing, and these multiple figures climbing after him. Logan enters this temple and is commenting about some similar things going on with Krakoa, and here in Japan there's a breach between Arakko and Krakoa, and there's a breach between Earth and Hell. There's a whole mess of shadows and light, past and present, and death had come calling for them all. He finds Muramasa pinned to the ground over a pentagram, bled to death. You see a vision of Hell again, Logan climbing out of this lava. You see Muramasa looking desiccated and emaciated in Hell, saying, "Save me, Logan-san." 24 hours after Logan got to Japan and talked to every friend and enemy he had there, he found this temple. Muramasa sacrificed and was attacked in this temple by agents of the Hand, who he thought were a relic, but apparently not. As he fights these Hand ninja, one of their masks come off, and he sees that what he finds underneath is inhuman and pretty gross. There is a portal that is in this next room when they fight through, and he ends up getting pushed into this hell gate and falls down into the molten lava, and he climbs out to find Muramasa there. He is hammering away, he is welding and smelting and Muramasa is doing what he does best, which is forging weapons for the Hand. They have him bound here, and he says that Hell is the best blast furnace there is. So even though I'm trapped here and I have to make these weapons, I find some comfort and pride knowing that there will never be a better blade in existence. And he was once considered the greatest swordsmith in the world, that he will now be known as the greatest swordsmith in all the worlds. He also says he needs to hurry because it's almost time for the ceremony. We flash forward a bit and we see Logan healing himself, and he's locked up, and you can see he's just in stasis trying to heal his body back because there's only pretty much a skeleton in his brain inside there probably. And you see a hooded figure saying, even if the commendations are rather substandard, I'm just so curious about you, especially your ability to regenerate. And you see that it's Solemn. Solemn has made his way to Hell. So during the time you're healing yourself, he says, I'll tell you my story, how I got here. He proceeds to tell about him leaving Arakko, and he went to find a oracle on this island off the coast of Arakko called the Blind. And he goes to see this haggard old woman who is a seer, and she tells him, you're here for information about the swordsmith Muramasa, and you know there's a cost. He says, of course, and if I'm not mistaken, you were banished here by your sister, Mortazang. So he pulls out Mortazang's head and he said, I hope this will suffice, or would you like me to fetch the rest of her? He throws it into the fire. The oracle seems very happy. How did you know? And he says, I've always known how to seduce someone. The oracle says Muramasa is dead, but you still can find him. That Hellblade you have, that's how you can get to where he is in Hell. You will find Muramasa. Solemn says, I really don't want to go to Hell. I have too big of an ego to commit suicide. And she says, no, it's a key. You can open a path to Hell. It opens a door. And he proceeds to stick it into one of the cave walls and open a fissure, a crack to Hell. She says, you will go and you will find a mutant made of metal, and he will be your guide to the Muramasa. And Solemn enters the gate, and he says, and here we are now. Now, you're going to take me to my sword, little man. And now that you have a tongue, what do you have to say to that? Logan says, I'll tell you to go to Hell, but we're already there. Logan tells Solemn that you're not the only one looking for a Muramasa blade. And Solemn is saying, wow, am I hearing correctly that you are the unkillable champion of Krakoa to face off me, the unbeatable champion of Arakko? He loves the idea, although he doesn't like the terms of engagement. Logan is trying to slice through the bars, but Solemn says they are hell forged with hellfire, so don't bother. Logan says, maybe I should just kill you now, and tries to slash Solemn. It doesn't work. His skin, in fact, is adamantium, or more of a microfibrous version of chainmail. Some chainmail so small that it just appears to be his skin almost. Solemn shows Logan he has the keys, and he says, let's go, because Muramasa is waiting. Logan asks what kind of game he's playing. Solemn says, a deadly one, to be sure. Solemn and Logan travel back to the Hellforge where Muramasa was making these weapons, and he is nowhere to be found. Logan says he can't be far. Solemn asks about the hand, and Logan says that they have always just worshipped the beast, but something changed and they've leveled up. Solemn asks how so. Logan describes what he saw when he ripped off one of their masks and how its skull looked like it was just bone and rotted flesh with candles burning behind his eyes. He was like possessed. Solemn says the lines are dissolving everywhere. Krakoa is Arakko and Arakko is Krakoa. The hand is the beast and the beast is the hand. And he says there is marriage in the air and we hear bells. They sneak over a ridge and they peer down to see a ceremony taking place. A marriage between a demon and a human. And you see this bestial demon figure sitting here. And he says, of my left hand and of my right hand. Logan says, there he is. And Solemn is asking who and which one, the huge fleshy demon or one of these faceless. And the demon says, now I'm welcoming the sacred swords for the union. And he calls out Muramasa. And we see Muramasa step out with 2 Muramasa blades. As he presents them to this demon, Logan says 2 swords, and I guess we won't have to kill each other. Solemn has brought 2 knocked out, faceless hand members, and he says to strip them down so we can go to this formal, properly dressed. As this ceremony is going on, both the bridegroom take these swords and they plunge them into Muramasa, and they proceed to absorb his soul into them. Before they can finish the ceremony, Solemn leaps down and says he has a gift for the happy couple, throwing the Hellblade, killing the groom. He says it's a damn good gift, if I do say so myself. He snatches up one of the Muramasa blades and proceeds to fight the bride. She said, you killed my husband, and steal his sword. There will be hell to pay. She gets a good swipe at him, and he doesn't seem to move at first, but he's shocked that she drew blood from him. Bride says, your heart will bleed as mine does. And he says, impossible. Logan jumps in, impales the woman from behind, and tells him that he forgot to mention Muramasa blades can cut through adamantium. And they proceed to continue to fight, but Logan is snatched up by the big demon, pretty much grabs his whole head. Solemn says he has both katanas, and I've killed the groom and stabbed the bride and could easily abandon him. But I have to admit that I'm feeling pretty generous since you helped me get this far. And do you want to buy a blade? He says, I know, you're wondering why I would help you if we're facing off against each other potentially. He says, basically, I'm just a good person. And Logan says, what do you want for it? We flash forward and we see Logan coming back to Krakoa through the gate. He has his sword. He walks to the circle, the sigil that represents him, and he stabs it, lighting it up, activating it. And he says he had to pay a price, and only time will tell if that price was worth the cost. Now we have 2 of 10 sigils, 2 of 10 sword bearers, Magic, and Logan, and that's where we'll leave it. What did you think about this installment of the Exiled Sword series? And what do you think about this new character, Solemn? I kind of like him. He seems interesting, definitely a hedonistic type, which I do appreciate those types of characters. If you like the story so far, please like, share, and subscribe. So the next episode will be following Storm as she goes about trying to acquire her ceremonial blade, forcing her to do something she really doesn't want to do.